Welcome back to another episode of GTM Bantercast. This week, we decided to bring on a very special guest, the VP of CS over at Docket, LeeRon. She's going to be here today because Murtaz and I constantly are speaking about acquisition and, revenue growth within the business and retaining customers. So LeeRon is here today. Let's get into it.
Hi, LeeRon. Welcome to Bantercast. So excited to have you here. We've worked in a vendor-client relationship in the past, and you've been a great person to bounce ideas off. And I'm super excited to have you here join us today to really expand our horizon about what's happening in the world of customer retention, customer success, and how you've seen that part of the business evolve in the last few decades, and how you see the future.
Thanks for having me. It's really exciting. I've made it. Look, Ma, I'm on this podcast.
So, LeeRon, I kind of laid you up with like the decades of evolution. I didn't want to say that you have been here for many decades, but the industry has been evolving, and CS as a role has been evolving. So what's your journey? Fill us in on that, because I know you have a really interesting journey about how you started and how you're leading the functions that you're leading at the moment.
Yeah. So I've been in this side of the world since the dinosaurs roamed the earth, or something that feels kind of like that. But I actually didn't start in customer success. I fell into startup world. My background actually is in education. I was a teacher and a school administrator and a district administrator for many years until I had what I like to call my first midlife crisis. I just woke up one day and decided I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like who I am. I don't like what I do. I need something new. And a friend reached out and said, hey, we're going to start a startup and we want you to join. And here's what we're going to do. I watched a couple of YouTube videos. This is early 2000. And I learned everything that startup was at the day. And I was like, cool. I'm not really sure what we do, but we do it on a dirty couch in a small closet or a garage. And we're totally going to be billionaires. And so I want in. Let's do this thing. And I fell in love with the world of startup, early stage startup, where you wear so many hats and you get to do so many different things, and started up actually in sales, and then found my way into customer success. Cause yes, you can close a deal, but there's really great things that happen right after that. And I've bounced between sales and customer success and sales and customer success for quite a while.
So how are you finding, or are you finding any parallels between school, kids, administration of an academic institution, and the world of GTM and leading things like that?
Yes, there's a lot of crossover skills. When you think about it, a teacher in a classroom has at least 30 customers that they're dealing with every day. They each have their own needs, their own styles, their own communication, their own pathways, their own journeys you had to design. And then you have a buying committee with like 16 other people that are in charge of that one little prospect you have. And you need to figure out how to talk to all of them, communicate to all of them, keep them on track, keep them with a deadline, and figure out how to make everyone successful.
I have to ask, what grade did you teach? Because this is news to me.
So actually, straight out of completing my degree, I went and taught high school, which was the biggest mistake of my life. Don't do that unless you really want to start a scroll of sexual harassment. So after 2 years of teaching high school, fresh out of college, I decided, no, these kids, there's so much wrong with them. I got to fix them early. And I went back all the way to kindergarten to second grade, because I figured maybe if I start early, I can change the world.
It's a good vision, but I can see how that would be quite a transition.
Yeah.
High school to grade 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember my high school days, and I remember young teachers coming in to teach us. And I remember the concerns that would be everywhere about it.
It was brutal.
It was brutal. So I'm sorry for the teenage boys that you had to deal with. Hopefully working with salespeople is a little less different.
It's very similar.
So how's that journey evolved from, the early startup to your trajectory over the last little while, especially, as the line between SaaS, AI, every company being a tech company, it's starting to blur a little bit. So how has that evolved? And where are you feeling that the GTM teams need to focus a little bit more on customer success?
It's a very loaded question. We'll try to break it into pieces here. So a lot has happened. And my little soapbox is, for those of you who are listening, a lot has changed in the last 15 to 20 years. Stop running the same playbook from 2006. It's not working. And it shows. A lot has changed. The go-to-market has changed. The buyers have changed. The economy we're in has changed. Roles have gotten some sort of a blurry line, but we really owe ourselves and our customers the definition of who does what and who's responsible and accountable for what. It's better for your teams. It's better for your customers to know who's doing what and what are they responsible for. It will make your people feel more successful. Customer success started truly being the definition of its name, making customers successful. It's such an easy role. The role is in the name definition. It's not rocket science, but at some point it kind of lost its way. I like to identify it as like the boom years in tech, where everyone was getting money and money was just being thrown, and you get a raise and you get a raise and here's your series and here's your money. And customer success kind of lost its way and became the happiness department.
You define
And
happiness?
I'm not about happiness. That's not my job. So I look like the Disney
that was
cruise
almost a
director.
rhetorical question, right? Because who can define happiness? Like what's happiness for you may not be happiness for me.
Yeah, I'll tell you who defines happiness, my mood ring. And I can't define that, and I can't take that to the bank, and I definitely cannot cash on it. But when everything is in such abundance, people forgot that we're a commercial entity, that go-to-market is about commercial. And you actually have to work really hard to close deals. And then you have to work twice as hard to maintain them, retain them, and grow them. And it all became about, are they happy? Are they green? And we started talking about emotions, and we lost the knowledge of this is go-to-market. Start talking about metrics that actually matter and start using commercial language. Because at the end of the day, if you are just here to talk about emotions, no one listening.
How is that received now?
I'm fighting a battle. I feel like constantly saying to other customer success leaders of like, I'm sorry, but telling me that you work really hard, or you did all these actions last week, or you completed 24 QBRs and 5 check-ins. I actually don't care. If you want me to care, then please say that we've completed 4 QBRs that have either secured or grew our company's business by XYZ dollar amount, that you've identified XYZ dollar amount in risk, and here are the actions you took, and therefore you saved XYZ dollar amount. Talk in commercials or just don't.
Yeah, that's really a valid point. And when I think back, I briefly held a role which wasn't called customer success, but later on I was like, oh well, that was customer success. And a lot of that was about what you're talking about, happiness. And a lot of it started from the fact of looking at what were the pains that someone was experiencing, like how many tickets were they logging for certain kind of issues, and what could we teach them so that they'd have less and less of those issues. And then as a result of that, you're trying to find a path to revenue, but it wasn't clearly defined of, how that path to revenue comes about from making someone happy, to your point, right? You can't take that to the bank.
You can't quantify it. There's no dollar amount to it. You can't cash that check.
Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure Savannah is wondering one thing, which is, what can someone like, and Savannah, let me know if that's what you're thinking or not, but what can someone like you do, Savannah, at the start of this journey so that the customer success folks who are working with individuals after the sale have an easier job dealing with all these QBRs and all these issues and all that kind of stuff? So is that something that was crossing your mind?
100%. I think that that's something that we don't have enough clarity on. And the other thing too, that I kind of wanted to get back to about happiness, and I just have to ask, because you're saying now, in 2026, people think it's about happiness when that's not at all what it's about. How do you in CS differentiate happiness versus or happiness for the customer versus customer success? Like, what are you doing as a leader that you would say allows you to differentiate the two?
Great question. I don't ask you if you're happy because it's not that I don't care, but that's not going to pay my salary and that's not going to keep the company's lights on. My job is to help you articulate what the desired outcomes are you for. And then not just desired outcomes, but how those desired outcomes actually move the needle on a KPI that you own for your company. So not just, I want to put this platform together because it's going to make my team faster. What does faster equal? What does that actually mean? What's underneath it? How does that actually matter to your CEO and to your CFO? I'm going to help you quantify that. That's my job, is to help translate that for you. And when CSMs ask people like, what are your desired outcomes? You get a stare because I don't want to know what my desired outcomes are. Can you help me define them? Yes. Ask more questions. Step into discovery. Actually ask questions that can help you identify that. Once I've helped you identify what your desired outcomes are, my job is to be a real mirror to you and say, Savannah, that sounds great. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's not going to take us 45 days or 6 months. Your desired outcome is going to take us 18 months. Are you in for the ride? Here's what it's going to take for you. Here's what it's going to take for me. We're going to do it together. But that's what it's going to take for us to get there, because here's where you are and here's where you want to be. And there's a delta. We have to close it. It's not magic. Whatever platform you just bought, you're not waving your magic wand and it just poof, here you go. You actually have to do work. Mm-hmm. That's the magic of SaaS. You don't buy it and can I say shit? Shit happens. Edit me if not. But it doesn't work that way. You actually have to do work to implement it, to figure out how does it fit into your current workflow, into the current systems that you have. What does it break? What does it enhance? And why would we get there? So my job in customer success is to help you identify those, quantify them, track them, and give you warnings at each point of like, here's where we're going to go and right off a cliff into the sunset and die. Let's not do that. Let's pull over for a second. Let's talk about what that's going to do. Do you really want to do that? Here's what would happen. If you still want to do that, I just want to go on record saying, I highly recommend we don't. Let's go get a snack and then we won't be so hangry and we'll be just fine. That's my job. The job is never happiness. The job is to say, this customer came to us with this starting state, and here's how we help them get to the end state. Here's how long it took us. That's the success story. That's the success map. Throw whatever commercial cliche you want from SaaS onto it. At the end of the day, that is your job, to diagnose, prescribe, and help them get to that end result that they desire in a reasonable timeline.
Interesting. So kind of like what Murtaza was saying, which I am curious about, is there anything that a sales rep can do in the early on stages of even trying to acquire the customer that we can do to help gather more information and make your job a little bit easier when it comes to solidifying those needs?
Yes. Pull a pen and paper. Here we go. 1, stop selling the roadmap like it's a feature that already exists. It's a roadmap. Be real clear about that. It's a roadmap. The feature isn't built today. Don't sell one use case and then have us onboard another use case. We need to truly understand what it is that the customer is buying and what for. And if you're a company that has 6 different use cases, identify what those are. Don't bring me a deal that you say, oh my God, this is such a good deal. The champion is so excited. Because a smile is not going to give me discovery, and I don't really understand what it is that they're buying, and excitement doesn't help us get to outcomes. That's the equivalent of happiness. Don't minimize complexity just to get your deal closed. Be really honest about what complex is in your platform if it exists. What points are hard. Don't go ahead and say, oh, we can onboard you in 2 days if you know that it's 4 weeks. I don't want to be the one managing disappointments. I don't want to be the one that sells the magic and I have to be like, actually, this is what it looks like without makeup. I want you to be honest about what things are and where they are and why they are the way that they are. And for all that is holy, don't let a customer come to me to define success criteria. It's part of your qualification. Why are they here? Do your job. I'm here to quantify that to a KPI, but your job as a salesperson is to do the discovery properly. What are they buying and why? What is the actual pain that you're solving? What is the problem you're solving? And when I get to it and the answers are different, we have a problem because we're telling different stories. Those are the main pain points between sales and customer success. That's the reality. That's what happens all day, every day.
Right.
How often do you find that happens where your reps are telling you one use case and then the prospect is coming to you with a completely different pain?
Every single day. I had a conversation. We were at a meeting, I think it was a week and a half ago. It was almost the entire company. And our sales leader, David, says, sales sells a dream and CS has to onboard reality. And I was like, yes, and thank you for saying that out loud in front of everybody. That is true. Your job is to give the glow of the demo and everything is this. I am actually where reality comes in. CS really is where we are going to find out if we can go cash the check you just brought us and like close the deal, brought to the bank, but it might be empty. And we celebrate sales on closing the deal. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not upset with salespeople. I love salespeople. I was a salesperson. We need salespeople, but we celebrate the close. We don't celebrate in closing good deals or closing deals well. We celebrate the gong and a deal got closed, but not, hey, did you get all this information? It's more like, yeah, so this deal moved really fast, LeeRon. Yeah, I didn't really finish qualification and discovery, but you can do that. You're going to have a kickoff call. You can ask them all these questions. Yeah, I only have one stakeholder, but you will multi-thread. You'll find more. That's the job for closing the deal. There should be minimum criteria that you have to pick up. And if the deal is moving fast, great, but don't bring it to me until you close all your stuff and cleaned your house. I'm not the cleaning crew. Put the house in order. If the guests are coming in, I'm here to host them.
That's such a foundational element that you're pointing out to LeeRon is because, I kind of picked this up that something changed between between 2018 and 2022, where the idea of what a SaaS salesperson should be doing and what you're talking about, the bare minimum of what a good deal looks like, something changed over it.
Yeah.
And it became very transactional, like get me an order, get it done, move. Right. And I don't know what it was, but something changed over there, and that's leading to a lot of the issues you're talking about. Proper qualification.
And it's not the salespeople. It's the systems that they're operating in. It's leadership that build a system that is failing every salesperson. I don't think salespeople are bad people. They're operating in a system that's broken. They're doing the best in what they can. And the system always also allows for it.
Do you think it's the hunger for excessive growth? And I don't know if it's excessive or not, but just hunger for growth, because, you could have VCs, investor, PE companies, board. We've heard all those conversations where, we've got certain targets to achieve that may or may not be realistic, but roll up the sleeves and get it done kind of thing. Do you think that could be driving it?
So if you look back at the dates you're mentioning, that's the beginning of an economic downslope. That's the beginning of COVID. That's when the money stopped flowing out of the faucets like we were all filthy rich. And the pressure, and I remember that because I was leading sales in those years as a CRO. And so that came in and I got numbers. I was like, whoa, what drunk person wrote that on a napkin and who said yes? Because it wasn't me. I know that I can't get there. The pressure became real and you had less teams and less people and less things that you could work with. And I think the pressure came on boards as well, because the wrapper came up and like now the truth was out there. And the pressure to move fast and grow fast because you had to do your triple, double, quadruple, whatever, without looking at the conditions that we were in, caused this. We put so much pressure of like move fast, close fast, not move well, close right. It's less about ICP. It's more about volume, how many deals you close, how much money you brought.
Right.
When I speak to young folks like Savannah and I try to like shock them into the system, I would say, when you reported to me into my sales org, a large portion of your OT was tied to renewals. You got paid more on selling ICP and closing your deals cleanly and putting everything into the CRM. you would get paid a lot less. And also I wouldn't keep you very long if you weren't. Because yes, you have to hit a number, but it's not by all means and at any cost. At the end of the day, when we do that, we damage our own selves. We basically blow a giant hole at the bottom of the boat. And we're like, why is the boat sinking? Oh, row faster, close more deals, but you're bleeding and everything falls through the cracks. And my job then becomes patching the holes. But I can't do that if I'm constantly taking water.
Yeah. And it's, it's interesting you mentioned ICP because that's one area, Savannah, that I keep going back to in our conversation, especially on this podcast or again, about ICP and the importance of ICP. And again, being a very foundational element, right? I noticed that there isn't a single organization that's got their ICP right, or that's kind of delivering against the ICP. So you mentioned over there that you want to compensate people for getting deals, good deals that are within ICP. How do you ensure that's happening? And then I have another question to follow up, but let's start with that.
I also have a question in relation to this conversation too. So get talking, LeeRon.
Let's going. So here's how I think about it. ICP needs to be defined by customer success. That's it. Full stop. That is the actual department that can tell you who's the ideal customer profile for us. In today's world, with the product we have, with the functionalities we have, who can we success? Who can we grow? Who can we make pay more? That's ICP. Now, raise your hand if ICP is currently owned by customer success in your company. I'll wait. Awesome. The other thing is ICP is not defined once. Lord have mercy. You better look at it every single quarter because the conditions change. The economic state changed. Your product has changed. So if you set an ICP and you're like, set it and forget it. You're going to die. You need to look at it each time and understand better what's working for you. So when a company comes and says to me, oh, we're going up market. Cool. Awesome. How are you doing that? Do you have the infrastructure to do that? Do you have the right people? Do you have the right process? Do you have the right tools? Do you have the right mentality? Have you thought about all of these? No, but the board says we have to go up market. Awesome. The board also told me I need to look like a Victoria's Secret model. Good luck. That's not happening.
Why do you think customer success should define the ICP?
Because they actually know. Customer success is where everything happens, truly happens in reality. Because we have more time with the customers, we identify and realize and discover things you didn't have time to discover during the sale. We can figure out who can we onboard at the lowest cost for us. Who can we get to faster time to value? What are the qualification? What are the characteristic? What makes that customer successful? Now, I'm not saying only sell ICP. I've always said have like a scale. Like number one is the perfect ICP. They literally have everything. Prince Charming is coming on the horse and they do all the housework and you just sit there like a princess. Fine. There's got to be a tier 2, 3, 4, and 5. On tier 4 and 5, I get to veto. Or I get to say, that's desirable churn. Put it on the board right now. No one gets to be surprised 11 months from now when that churns. You mark that as churn right now. You decide how you pay that commission. We have to on-take customers, but we have to be honest about what we're taking onto us. A non-ICP customer or a bad fit customer costs the company. It's longer onboarding. It's more support ticket. It's longer time to value. It's anguish. It's executive escalations, the jump. The CEO has to spend time to like make connections and build things. If you do the calculation of how much that's actually costing you and how that relationship burns, the other thing that burns with it is your burn rate. So go ahead and make that decision if you feel like that's the right way to go.
I have a question regarding, so I know you mentioned at your orgs, your sales reps are also measured on the success of their renewal rate. Do you find that increases your reps qualification for their deals? Or do you think that even though you're telling them you're going to get paid commissions on this, we're going to, evaluate you and your quota is going to be dictated by your renewals, do you still find that a lot of deals are coming through and they're not properly qualified?
So when I ran in sales org, and that was actually how I ran it, and that's how people got paid, it did something really miraculous for the company. Sales and CS were never closer. They started talking to one another. It wasn't one versus the other, which is what I really wanted to fix. They started working together as one unit. Back in the day, we used to call it pods. They were tied to each other's success. They cared about each other's success and the success of the company at the end of the day. That's what really mattered. And were people upset about it in the beginning? Yes. Did they understand why? After I explained, yes. I don't think that there's a sales rep out there taking pride in closing shitty deals. No one wants to be like, I hit number one, but none of these customers lasted. That's not what they want to take to the bank. I closed $1 million in business, 900K of that churn. Nobody wants that on their record. Salespeople rely on the deals they close to close more deals. You need that reference. You need that person. They need to know that they can trust you. It's in your best interest to close good deals and to operate in a system that allows you to do that, that nurtures that behavior, that helps you and sets you up for success by explaining to you what good looks like. What are some of the gotchas in different places? When you spend enough time with your sales engineer, your onboarding team, your customer success, you start realizing what reality is, and it actually changes how you qualify. It might even change how you demo.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So, Savannah, what have you noticed in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? How is that getting tied in with the customer success? Or not just in one specific organization currently, but over your journey, because you're so close to the front lines nowadays. You're executing every day. So what are you noticing on it?
So to be truthful, I'm quite close actually with our head of CS at my current company. It's a startup, so we're small, and her and I are very, very close. Her name's Vinova. She's amazing. And ever since starting my career in sales, I would say I was never really tied to CS at all. Like in my first job, I didn't even really know what it was, to be honest with you. Like there was, in my mind and in my world, it didn't seem to have any relevance. And now as I'm growing and learning, and now I'm close with Vinova, who's our head of CS, I'm starting to see kind of the connection between the two and the importance of communicating between the two. And in my current role, I'm finding more and more I'm having to work with multiple different teams, whether that's marketing or CS or the sales team, to get these deals closed and across the line and make sure that they're good customers that are going to return. And it's very valuable to me because I really had no idea. If you had asked me a year ago what customer success does, what you said at the start of the call, like they're about the happiness of the prospect, that's probably the answer I would have given you, to be totally honest. So I think that now, and hearing you speak about it is very eye-opening to me and is probably going to change the way I work a little bit, to be honest.
Don't feel bad. We did this to ourselves. The fact that anyone walk into a new company and says, I can't tell you what CS does, that's the fault of CS leaders. 100%. No one's ever asked sales, what do you do? It's really clear what they do because, again, they speak in clear outcomes and metrics. They don't talk about fluff and emotions and actions and activities. Sales doesn't say I make $100 a day. They define the actions and the outcomes of the work that they do. So CS leaders did that to themselves. The brand went off track. We got to bring it back.
Do you think in your lifetime as a CS leader that will be brought back on track and it'll be less about the emotion and more about the success?
I will die trying. Yeah. So I really do hope so. Because when I started in customer success, which is nearly 20 years ago, that's what we were. It was really clearly defined. And it was very clear what we were about. And no one was asking me, should CS own commercials? Should they do renewals and expansion? It was a yes. That was a requirement. That's what they did. They got a customer and their job was to retain them and grow them. Not ask them if they're happy and tell them about my new cat. We were never the relationship department. And somehow we took on that role of being the emotional support animal for the entire company and every single customer here. You don't feel good? Come, I'll hold you. That's not the job. And the fact that people in your organization today cannot define what CS is, as a customer success leader, look yourself in the mirror and say, I have failed. Because if everybody in my company cannot say that's what our customer success team does, then you failed at your job.
LeeRon, who should look after that relationship? Or does it need to be looked after?
Why does relationship matter in business?
For continuity?
I don't think it has anything to do with relationships. Continuity comes from value.
All right. So
Absolutely value. Value is defined to me by, again, outcomes and dollar signs. No one does business based on relationship. Not in my opinion. I broke up with my insurance guy last week. I've had him for 20 years. He had been at my house for dinner. But someone called and offered me the same insurance for $200 a month less. Guess what? Bye, Felicia. That relationship, that didn't keep me. Absolutely not. And what happens in today's world is I could have the best relationship with customers, but that doesn't renew it. At the end of the day, their CFO does not care whether they like me or how lovable I am or everything that they know about me. It's bottom line. There's a P&L and we all answer to it. So relationships don't really matter. Is there an aspect of it? Will they take a call from you quicker and reply to you faster because you've built it? It's connection. And that's worth something in sales too. But at the end of the day, it's show me the money. What have you done for me lately? And how did you make me better? Because that person that you build a relationship with can be let go tomorrow in a riff or get promoted or move to another company. And there goes your renewal, your relationship, your business. At the end of the day, no one has ever written a check for happiness or relationships, and business isn't built on that. It's a transaction. Can you
100%.
make me more successful?
So, do you think that if we're always talking about this is the bottom line efficiency, we're getting a customer, do you think we could lose out to other people who could just to build out an insurance example? Somebody like we're telling someone we're helping you save X dollar or make X dollars. Somebody could come in and say, you know what, we can save you 2x that amount, or we can make grow your business by 2x that. That could well happen, right? So how do you coach your teams to avoid falling into that kind of like match me dollar for dollar or value for value kind of thing?
Yeah, so I think that's where your expertise and experience really come to play. So when you partner with me, whether I'm at the beginning of a relationship, a vendor, but I think Mortaza, you'll attest, maybe in the first few weeks it felt like a vendor relationship, but it very quickly became a partnership. What you're buying is not just the platform that we work with, but what you're buying is a partner would help you get better. So yes, you're buying whatever platform I'm selling you and you paid a dollar amount to it, but you're also buying my IP, my experience, my strategy, what I see across all other customers in portfolio, what I see other companies doing. My job is to give you value beyond just what our platform does and make sure that you get more out of that. So in the world of tech consolidation and the abundance of platforms we have out there, because everyone can, as we said in the beginning, you can spend the weekend on Lovable and build a brand new product. Everyone can offer you something better, bigger, for less, whatever it may be. What you're also losing is not just the value that you got from that company, but also you're losing the value of the person you're working with and what they bring. So it's not about relationship. It's about knowledge transfer. It's about value that we can provide to you. And I think our job in customer success is to really take the vision, and I'm using the word vision because it's not a dream. It's a vision that you should be casting as a salesperson. What's the vision of how this gets embedded into your ecosystem wherever you implement this? And to make sure that we are an integral part of that ecosystem. If you live in a tiny little bubble, removing that bubble or busting it means nothing. Like me letting go of my insurance guy, it affects nothing in my household. It's not tied to anything else. If I am to go change my bank account, now I have to start thinking, do I really want to do that? Yes, somebody else offered me 3% versus 2.5%, but I don't remember the login to every one of my accounts, and how will I change the accounts? I mean, you have to be embedded into it. And that's the job of a CSM. Understand their ecosystem. How are you embedded into what other platforms are doing? Integrations are critical in today's world. Why? Because they connect you to other systems, and it's harder to pull apart. That's why you see every company out there has 3 pages you can scroll through of all the integrations we have. That's the magic glue that holds it all together.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. That first of all, yes, our relationship as vendor and partner was amazing, and that's why we've continued to be engaged in all sorts of conversations over the last several years, right? So that's been good. And I think that the real value that you're talking about is what we confuse as a relationship of keeping someone happy is more about um, an engagement that really helps them understand how we can help impact their business in more ways than just efficiency, dollars and cents, right? One thing that we actually talk about quite a bit in my world with my clients is are we getting, are we helping our customers be able to see business results that they can attribute to what we do, right? That's the first level where we've kind of solidified our position or embedded ourselves, as you mentioned. But then if they come back to us and say we're able to transform the way we've been able to do business because of how we've been working together, that means we're set for a little bit, right? And I think going back to what you and I were working on together, and Savannah was actually a user of what you were working on together. I think we certainly got to that attributable part within, I would say, what, 6 to 8 months. We're certainly starting to get there. So that kind of really has an impact.
Yeah. And I think you have to today. It's 2026 and we no longer can sell dreams, and no one's buying 120 platforms for their team. You have to be a lot more mindful with what it is that you implement, the cost of implementing new tools for the team. Everyone wants to see success, and you have to figure out for that company what success looks like and how long it's going to take us to get there. Some companies that I worked with got to success at 6 months, other were at 4 months, and some I had to look in the face and be like, wow, you only signed a 12-month contract. So 36 months from now, we can attribute. Because they came and said, oh, I want a shorter sales cycle. And I said, great, I could potentially help with that. How long is your sales cycle? And they said 24 months. And I said, that's awesome. I need a 3-year contract, right? Because you're expecting me to do magic, but I'm not a magician.
Mm-hmm. Really, really, really well point. So speaking of magic and magicians and all the things that we've talked about so far, what makes a successful customer success?
Oh, I've been asked this so many times, and I'm really trying to narrow it down so it's not like opens the scroll and 250 skill sets come out. Curiosity, strong instincts, pattern recognition, commercial confidence, executive presence, and maybe the ability to smell nonsense before it becomes a problem.
There you go. Those are the 5 things. Okay, I have to ask LeeRon as well, because I feel like you have so much to say and we could sit here and talk all day. But what would be, if we could clip this into a 30-second clip and I could share with my team the number one most important takeaway from our conversation today of what a frontline sales rep should be doing or should know about CS to be better at their job? What is the one thing that they should take away from our conversation?
They should get closer to customer success, and they should understand what customers actually look like during onboarding and what a successful customer looks like at 6 months or 12 months or later. So they stop selling bedtime stories and actually writing documentaries, and they will get closer to that. Sales is really good at creating urgency, and customer success is really good at creating presence. It will make you a better seller, understanding what it takes to success a customer.
Okay.
It would make you better at discovery. It would make you better as a qualifier to understand what actually happens after. So I don't know if you take your customer success manager out for coffee or lunch or go sit next to them, or if you live in the world of Zoom, then ask them if they can spare 2 hours over the next 2 weeks, each time for 30 minutes to tell you the real stories. Tell me about the best customer you ever had. And then take it back and reverse engineer it into what made that customer successful. Tell me about the worst customer you ever had. Reverse engineer that. Now you have a pathway and a map, and you can use that as a seller to smell that a mile away and use that to your advantage. Sales is literally risk transfer to customer success. So don't write me a handoff and don't tell me stories about what a great deal this is and how nice Doug is and how fun he is and that you're exchanging text messages. You're transferring risk, right? That contract carries risk at the end of the day. Help me by quantifying the risk for me. I would rather know that we're walking into a battle zone and this is competitive and Johnny is really hard to get a hold of and he only answers your text messages than being told stories and then finding out the hard truth. Don't try to make me feel good. I'm not about happiness. I would rather know the truth and then work with me to figure it out. I've handled plenty of bad sales and have turned it around, but that's because I had an actual partner in my pre-sales motion.
It's really well put. Okay.
That risk analogy is so cool. I really love that. And I think everything that we've talked about is at each step of that sales journey, we are just de-risking the deal, right? The more questions we ask, the more we stay within our ICP, the better pains or the more pains that we are aware of, we're just de-risking that deal at each step of the way. And I'm going to use that, LeeRon, quite often in my conversation because I really love the way you phrased it. That's a really cool way to put it.
I'll send you my Venmo and just, royalties.
Absolutely.
Go directly.
It's on its way.
But it is. I think if we all understand that we share that and instead of throwing grenades over the wall, if you tell me that there's a grenade, I'm going to fall on the grenade with you because we're in it together. We're in the same company. We're on the same team. It is one team. You want the company to be successful. So you're bringing in deals that you think are, but if you know that they're not, just say it. Let's figure out a pathway towards that success. Let's figure out what we can do to turn things around. I have come into sales conversations where like you're negotiating things or they're asking for our unrealistic expectations. Or I'm like, let's set the line. Here's what actually is going to happen. I have no problem coming into complex deals and help you detangle them. That's part of being one team. Treat your post-sales colleagues as part of your team, and they're not a different team.
Yeah, very well put. So I often hear, and I've heard this in a few different instances, that when certain CS leaders are hiring for CS roles, they don't necessarily like to hire hunters.
I was going to ask something along these lines.
Yeah, go. I think your story. Yeah, go for it.
Well, I was going to ask because in previous teams, current teams, I hear a lot of salespeople who are curious, like front of line salespeople who are doing the hunting every day, who CS and being in an entry-level CS position does pique their interest. And I've always wondered, what are the skills that those hunters required to be successful in CS right out of the gate? And even if it's an entry-level position, not, where you're at, but what are, a two-part. What are the skills? And also, how often do you see that happening where someone in sales moves over to CS and absolutely crushes it?
Every single time. The best people I have moved into the CS org were previously SDRs or AEs. It's the same skills that I told you that you needed. It's curiosity, good instincts, pattern recognition, commercial confidence, executive presence, and the ability to smell shit before it sticks. Isn't that the definition of every AE and SDR you've worked with?
True.
Yeah.
That's what makes a great CSM. It's the same thing. There's no difference. In sales, you're rewarded for speed. In CS, you're rewarded for longitude. So as long as you're willing to not work in speed and you're looking for length of or depth of, you would be a phenomenal customer success manager.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So when you're hiring for a CSM, how often are you looking on that resume for it to say account executive or SDR?
Every day. Every day. So I personally, and there could be other people out there, but I don't hire CSMs that have not held other roles in go-to-market and have had the experience, because I then have to teach you commercial acumen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really have time for that.
Right.
I have to teach you that renewal is not a date on the calendar.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
phase in your CRM.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you're selling every single day. Every single day. Every time you speak to that customer, you are selling, reselling and selling and reselling and selling. Is it as harsh, abrupt, and in your face as sales? Nope. Maybe it's a little bit softer, but you're still selling every single day. You're reselling them on the value. You're reselling them on why they came here. You're reselling them on why we partnered in the first place. Because things change in their business, but your job is to constantly sell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the job. And so if you can't sell, you won't be a successful CSM. If you have not been an SDR and got hung up, yelled at, cussed at 150 times a day, you're going to have a hard time being in CS.
Mm-hmm.
At least in today's CS world, you'll have a very hard time.
When you say you're playing the long game in CS, right? It's not a short, quick sale trying to get them across the line. How often are you speaking to these customers? Once a month? Once a week? Do you have recurring meetings? Like, what does that look like?
Yes. So it depends. To me, I'm allergic to check-ins because this isn't a hotel. You're not going to check in or check out. I break in hives if you tell me that we have to sit through a QBR. Because
Good to know.
I have never had my financial advisor tell me that every quarter we have to sit down and read my bank statements to me. I'd rather not. And no one has ever woke up and like, oh my God, I can't wait for the QBR today. No, nobody wants that. So how often do I meet with customers? Often as needed.
Mm-hmm.
With some, it's literally on a weekly basis. With others, it could be once a month. With some, it's every day in a Slack channel. And we exchange about 50 comments every single day because everyone is at a different phase, at a different stage. Do you, as a salesperson, only reach out to your prospects on Tuesday at 10:30? No, some deals require you to work at midnight and do so much more, and others just don't. So you need to figure out where things are at and not shove it down their throat because a playbook somewhere or a phase in your CRM said it's 30 days, time to gather all the cows and explain grass.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, that's music to my ears because I've worked with some clients recently where the renewals aren't even in the CRM system. They only show up 90 days before. I'm like, no,
You're
you
gonna
gotta,
get
you
your
gotta,
back.
But the thing
yeah,
that they don't realize is the renewal cycle starts 24 hours after that signature is
yeah,
on paper. It's not even dry yet. And the renewal cycle started immediately. And if you wait till like 90 days before, you lost them 2 weeks after this contract was signed and you just didn't want to look. That's where smelling things before they become a problem really comes into play. The renewal starts the day they sign the contract. That's when you start working towards that next sale. That's why I'm saying longitude. If you're willing to be in a 364-day sales cycle, come over to CS. That's how long it's going to take to get to that signature again. Now, if you're very good at what you do, you could shorten that cycle by moving the renewal date, signing a multi-year throughout, expanding them and moving the contract date and buying yourself more time. But you got to be selling every single day. If you don't get an alert that renewal is coming and it's 90 days from now, that's for procurement. That's a paperwork process. That's a PO. Everything else happened before that. And if you didn't do what you need to do to prove value, reach desired outcomes, show that you're a valuable partner to them, then who's going to give you a PO?
yeah. So that point about alert made me think of something, LeeRon. There's so much change happening in the industry with AI. And when you're explaining, Savannah, about the long sales cycle, the long play, the long game, where can AI help CS? What are you seeing, and how are you adopting AI for your teams? Fill us in on that.
Okay, so first, thank the Claudes and the lords of the GPTs that AI is finally here, because it gives the CS permission to stop being the secretary and the admin assistant to everything in the world. For the past 10 to 12 years, customer success has been hiding behind admin work. From writing notes on calls and follow-up emails and updating the CRM and updating a dashboard and coloring things green and yellow and red like we're some fruit basket. That all goes away because it's all automated by AI. So, yay. Also, it's actually exposing who's really good at this job and who's just been really busy.
Mm-hmm.
So the CSMs were like, but who you think are your top CSMs? You know, they work 10, 11-hour days. Their Salesforce instances are like, look like magic. Everything looks right. You're about to find out that's a whole lot of nothing. It's a nothing burger and there's nothing in it. You're going to find out who the real CSMs are, those who actually do the work. So thank goodness for AI, because it's liberating CS from those shackles that we all somehow bounded ourselves in, of like, let me take notes. Let me update. I need to build a QBR deck. I need to send a follow-up email. There's platforms and AI that does that for you today. Please go use it. It probably writes better than you do. So let's get there. It will be proper English. It will have punctuation. Yay. You will actually look like you belong in an executive room. How do I use AI? So I always start that with a very big caveat, underline, bold, italic, neon lights in your face. I am not the typical person when it comes to AI. I have been working and building in AI for over 10 years. This is my world. I am familiar with it. Am I light years ahead of people? No, catch up, folks. Like, it's been around for a little minute. So get on the wagon or you'll be left off the trail.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the Oregon Trail. You won't make it very far. How do I use AI? For everything and anything in business, it's literally my admin assistant. So I have a workflow that wraps up my day for me and tell me which items came in today, prioritize them for me, finds time on my calendar and blocks time on my calendar tomorrow to do those important things. Hands off, I literally have an executive assistant because I forget things. Managing Slack channels. I have a bot that reads all the Slack channels in the company and alerts me to the ones that actually matter, that I need to jump in and have a conversation, and marks the ones I'm not needed as read so I don't freak out about having 150 messages to go through. I have a bot that drops into my lap at the end of every day a prep doc for tomorrow. Hey, LeeRon, here are your calls tomorrow. Here's the last time you spoke to this person. Here was what was informed. Here are next steps. Here's a suggested agenda. Here's something you should really bring up because we just had this release or this thing that came. I just read briefs and prep myself, but I don't have time to prep for it. It does that for me. It wraps up calls for me. It analyzes data. It actually analyzes signals and not moods of how customers feel. It gives very honest and very non-biased notes at the end of each call, because if there's something that I am also highly allergic to is, this was a great call. Really, what made it great? And I've seen too many of those notes in CRM. Great call today. What was great about it? Will everybody say it was great? Will they really say that was a great call? What was define great, define happiness, define emotions? That's not what we're here about, but facts that actually can move the needle and help us understand where things are at. I build new workflows every single day using AI. I have multiple AI agents, and by multiple, I think there's 45 of them right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to take a note out of your book because I only have about 2, and I think I could have more than that.
Oh, that's just work. My personal life, I have about 40 other AI agents because I can't manage life. But that's what it's for. The garden AI tells me what I need to do in the garden this weekend because it is April in Seattle and I don't know who I got to trim, Who needs water? Who needs fertilizer? What do I do? And so in order for me to not kill the garden, I have an AI.
So with all of this AI, are you concerned about the role of humans in CS?
I am not, but others should be. Because
Elaborate
the
on
role
that.
changes. The role changes and it needs to change. The role changes. You're not an admin. You're not a secretary. You're not here to write notes. You actually have to use judgment. You actually have to have human skills. You have to be able to carry conversation. You have to have emotional intelligence. You have to be able to read people. That means actively listening and being focused on a call and reading all 15 squares in the Zoom and identifying things that AI cannot identify, even though it has joined the call and took notes and did all those things. You actually have more powers. But if you actually don't have those skills, then yes, you should be worried because you're about to be revealed.
Yeah. So what you're
So-
really kind of implying there is what AI is really helping the good ones with is taking over that other administrative stuff that would keep them away from reading the bigger signs.
It removes the noise.
Right.
And those who play really good music are going to shine. And those who are like air guitaring the whole time and you're like, wow, Johnny's amazing. You're about to find out that they sound terrible when you turn the music on.
We should call them the Milli Vanilli or Willy Vanilli.
The vanilla ice of CS. Yes. Without autotune, they sound terrible, right? AI gives it its rightful place again. And I think CS has been, again, we did this to ourselves. We pushed ourselves into a corner and now we're being aperture just open. And if we step into it, it makes it so much better. It makes it so much better. It has to be accountable. It has to be responsible. It has to have acumen when it comes to commercials. It has to drive outcomes. It has to make customers more successful.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's the job.
Murtaza and I spoke about that in our last episode. We were talking all about AI, and I said the same thing when he asked me if I should be scared about salespeople in the world with AI. And my answer was the same as yours. If you're good at your job, AI should make you great, and you shouldn't be scared because you need to have those people skills, right? And those are skills that cannot be replaced by an AI bot. But the people who are kind of on the line of maybe lacking some of those skills, but they're being hidden by other things, that will come to light eventually.
AI is a multiplier. I think, Murtaza, when you and I started our partnership, I would explain to customers that AI is a flashlight. And we're about to walk into the darkest room in your organization. I'm going to turn the lights on. Are you ready to see the cracks, the cockroaches, the broken floor, the paint coming off? Because I'm turning the lights on really, really bright. This is not a mood rings light here. We're not going to look great when I turn the lights on. Are you ready for me to turn the lights on? It is a multiplier. So if you're really good, it makes you that much more dangerous and that much better. And if you're terrible, it's going to make you that much more terrible. But in today's world, I think that's the piece I'm trying to get across to people. It's no longer acceptable for you to not use AI. It's almost like you came to a job interview and told me that, like, I don't use internet. Do you want an award? How do you do work? It's no longer like, oh, it's such a unique skill. Oh my gosh, you use AI. You're so different. It is a requirement. Savannah's too young to remember this, but Murtaza and I are in a similar age group where we used to write on a resume, skills, Microsoft Suite. You had to actually say that you knew how to use it because it was that kind of a cool skill to have. No one dares to write that they can use Microsoft on the resume today. I expect you to know how to use AI and not how to rewrite your emails because you threw it to ChatGPT, but like you're doing, Savannah, building yourself an AI agent that helps you become better, understanding what parts of your job should be automated or will be done better if you were, as a human, weren't doing it and it was done elsewhere. If you're just coming into your job, opening the playbook, chapter 1, pick up the phone, do this, I can replace you. And guess what? I should, because it's cheaper and it does better. And you're going to be replaced. And that's a good thing. That forces you to be better than just that. So I don't think you should be scared of it. You should embrace it, and you should work with it, and you should learn how to use it. And I'm sure that people who were in these roles before me, before the internet came, were scared of the internet too, but we had to learn how to use it. It's no longer like, hey, that's a huge added advantage. It's a requirement. It's baseline for me. And so if you've interviewed with me, you've heard me ask you, what problems have you solved lately using AI, and how did you make them better? And if you can't answer that for me, then I know that you're like, well, the company bought this platform, or they build a GPT where I ask questions. No, I'm not hiring you to do a role that I can make a robot do. I want to know that you can think, want to know that you have judgment, want to know that you can take information and do something with it, because I'm not hiring you to do the role of something that could be automated. I'm hiring a human. I'm paying for that. That's what I want.
Yeah, so true. All right. So I want to be cognizant of time as well.
We could go for days.
We could go. I've got like 8 different things that I wanted to say, but then I was like, oh my God, we were just going to keep going, and we'll take all of LeeRon's time. Savannah, what do you have in mind? Anything else we want to cover with LeeRon today?
Oh God, I don't even know. Maybe she needs to come back. Maybe she needs to come back for another episode.
Definitely. We should certainly have
Sign me up.
we should do a quarterly session. I'll cue me out with LeeRon.
LeeRon's not coming to that. That's the lesson learned
So
today.
something came up, and I'm so sorry, but I'm double booked. And I will tell you 3 minutes before the meeting starts.
Okay, well, LeeRon, you have so much to say, and I feel like we could sit here and chat with you all day, but we're obviously running out of time here. So I'm going to give you the chance to drop the mic. I want to thank you so much for joining us. This was a blast. Murtaza and I couldn't be more excited to have done this with you this week. So what are your final mic dropping words that you have to say for us?
Words of wisdom. Okay, first of all, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I'd love to do this again. But if I was to summarize my thoughts and opinions on customer success, I would leave you with this. Customer success is not what happens after revenue. It's actually where the company finds out if that revenue is real. Customer success is not about making customers happy. If you still think that, then your customer success team is just a human airbag for your own bad decisions. Salespeople are functioning in broken systems, and they deserve better. So if you're leading a go-to-market function today as a sales leader, an SDR leader, or a CS leader, do better.
Well said. With that, thank you for joining us, everyone, and we will see you at our next episode.